I can hear you.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, so let's get started on today's webinar. Thank you so much to everybody who is here in attendance with us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as always. My name is Dr. Erica, and I am from Team IMG Helping Hands. Today, again, we have a very distinguished guest with us. We have Dr. Zain Abdin. He is the president and founder of IMG Helping Hands. And today, as you saw in today's title, we're going to be talking about different topics related to the match. So what are some changes that are going to be implemented in this year's match? How can you use those changes to your advantage and implement them during, your application and just really make this the best match cycle as possible? And as always, how we can best assist you. So without further ado, let's get started. All right. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Zain. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm so excited to start, just really diving into this topic because I think there's just so much that there is to cover, starting with, the latest updates. What's new? What are some of the newest updates that are out, particularly with eras? What are some of the updates that you've been seeing?
That's very welcome, Erica. So let's deep dive for what Eros is implementing this for this season for 2026 match season. So one of the newest update, I think it's a good news as well, like for especially for the IMGs who are applying for multiple countries. There are gonna be a discounts, there are gonna be like a less fees for the match application for the residency match application as compared to what they were before. So on the Arrest website, they have announced that they could would be around 50 to 60% of the discounts for the residency match application. This is, I think, one of the hot news, which will work out in the favor of the IMGs, especially because the dollar conversion rate is so competitive in some countries to the USA. So I think it's going to be one of the beneficial thing. I think, but there is a bad news, not a bad news. I think I would also take it as a good news as well. But there is a lot of AI implementation in assessment of the applications. For example, in one of the program directors, like they were having a discussion about for this season, they're going to do the AI analysis of the applications. For example, in the built-in portal, what will happen is, for example, they can get like a brief paragraph, a brief summary about a page about an application for like if any candidate is applying and is uploading or the application, so they can get like a brief version because sometimes they don't have enough time to review each and every application. So let's suppose if a program receives like 5,000 applications, so and they can only invite for like around 150 interviews, so they can only do 150. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna do AI competitive analysis. Initially it was a name of like a filters. There were some filters. The applications were filtered out. But in order to get a holistic approach about all of the applications, they are gonna just get the analysis and scrutinize the application. For example, might be if they are more interested in people whose interests align with them, might be who are more focused towards the underserved areas, might be who are more focused towards the research, so they can get an analysis from the AI that, okay, this person would be valuable for us. Not just the eras, but I think for slowly, like each and every portal is gonna implement the AI. So as soon as we hear about the AI, we have to adapt accordingly. For example, one of the funny example I can tell you guys this morning I was having a conversation like just with using Chat GPT. I was saying that, okay, tell me what's the color of the crow. It says the color of the crow is black. I said, no, if I tell you the color of the crow is white, now tell me what's the color of the crow. It says the color of the crow is white. So what this means is like you can be smart enough to get more number of interviews if you are smart to build your application in such a way, describe your events in such a way that even AI can be helpful to get your application on the top as compared to even if you have for example, like 15 experiences, but sometimes you're not able to get the invitation just because the way you have described your experience is not worth it. And might be it's worth it, but the program does not see any value. So it's
Mhm.
very important. So I think the one of the most important factor is the AI
Wow.
implementation this season.
Wow.
And
So
there were some
there's
other,
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, yes, no. So I'm just seeing here that there could be some pros and cons then with the AI. Pros in a sense that it could possibly help programs distinguish between applicants, but the cons in the sense that there does have to be a lot more consideration when it comes to building your application, the wording of it, and just really the that unknown consideration of how the AI is being built or controlled in order to look through. What are some ways that students can kind of go around that then, or to not have the AI algorithm be against them, but if anything have it work for them, similar to the example that you mentioned.
Yes, so I think one of the most important things, the personal statement. If AI is going to do the analysis, if the AI reviewing the personal statement, the most likely the programs are also gonna have the core values. Okay, for example, these are core values that are listed on their websites in in the resumes of their faculty, and you can see, and you can also it also reflects from their personalities as well, from all the faculty members from a specific residency program. What you guys can do is try to tailor the as many personal statements as you guys can. Let's suppose if you are applying for 100 programs. I'm not saying like you can go ahead and write 100 different residency programs, personal statement, but also if let's suppose there are some 10 to 15 programs where you think you would definitely want to go and your credentials align with them as well, then I would say the writes 15 lists or like few separate personal statements according to what attributes they have mentioned on their website and how your goal would be. Like you can mention about the state specific, for example, you want to live in the state, that's the reason, what the reason is, and how your strengths are aligning with the program goals. And this is how you can get the smart AI analysis. If let's suppose if any program is doing, then most likely your application will be on the top. But a few things which you cannot change is, for example, let's suppose if there is a if AI algorithm is detecting more hands-on externship opportunities and not observerships, because a few residence programs don't consider observership as USCE, US clinical experience. In order to encounter that specific thing is to get multiple experiences. For example, get a hands-on experience in a clinic. You can get one observership in the hospital in the residency program as well. You can get one hands-on experience in the clinic as well. Both would help you in your favor that okay, you also have hands-on experience and you also observed how you were taught about or how you observe the stuff in the hospital in the residency programs. So I think this is one of the advice which I would like to give, and just play smart, and you will be able to do it.
Wow, got it, got it. So just really emphasizing on the wording and just really being descriptive in your wording, regardless of whether you're doing an externship, an observership, or an internship. Just really, again, dive deep and saying really what you did, the responsibilities and so forth. So I think that's a really good way to approach it. That way there's no, again, miscommunication on what your responsibilities were during your, internship or externship or observership period. That's definitely a good strategy to keep in mind. And another thing pertaining to AI and software, since we are kind of on the topic of that, I know that there is a cortex by thalamus. Do you know a little bit more on that? Could you share a little bit more about that to us?
Yeah, so when you guys apply for the residency match, you start receiving the interviews. Now, in order to conduct the interview, most of the programs use multiple platforms, and one of the platform is a Thalamus core, and the Cortex is one of the new updates in the Thalamus, which is the AI system. It's the same thing which I was talking about. So in order to get an AI competitive analysis about any applicant, they are going to use the well, like for let's suppose if they're going to say, okay, how many publications, first author publications or last author publication this person has. So it's going to be on the top just in very concisely. If let's suppose it's going to be same thing. Like for example, if I have a book that's this big, like 100 pages, and I just gave a command to AI that just gave me one page summary of this whole book, and it's going to give you the whole summary. It's the same thing that can happen with the CVs. First of all, just try to make your CV like less lengthy as compared to what you have been doing previously. For example, your CV should not be more than 3 to 4 pages long. And once you are done with your CV, utilize the words which are more specific to the US healthcare system.
Mhm.
So even if the AI is doing its analysis, so your application is not missed out or filtered out. So that I would say. So this is basically Thalem Cortex is the AI analysis. It's a partnership. They have partnership with AMC. So they have built this portal where it's going to be easy for the programs to find appropriate candidates
Mhm.
that will be a best fit for their program.
Got it, got it. So the AI system is the cortex by thalamus. And I know I know you've been emphasizing on the CV, the personal statement, and so forth. But regarding, the letters, either the letters of recommendation, any letters of intent, any letters of interest, is that also affected by this upcoming AI implementation as well? Or just really what's the status on that perspective, would you say?
I think first of all, I think I would like to explain like the difference between letter of interest and letter of intent is. So
Sure, yes.
letter of interest is basically a letter that says that I'm interested in your residency program. And the letter of intent is mostly written once you are done with your application and let's suppose you're ranking the programs after the interview is done. And then you're saying that's my letter, but this is my first interest, like for your program is my first interest and I'm ranking on the top or something like that, right? That would be more of a letter of intent. But I think right now at this point, you guys should be focusing more on the letter of interest. What's the best strategy to write? You can write in the letter of interest? It's not just copy pasting. A lot of people text me and email me that, okay, could you please send me the template for the letter of interest? We do have a few templates. We do have a list on website as well, but the best letter of interest would be when you search a specific website for residency program, come up with your own keywords, and also see how your strengths would align with that program. If you write a very brief, like your strengths, what do you like about the program, that specific program, not just the common words like, you're very much into underserved areas or you are from the one of the top institutions. Like just the generic words would not add any value. The specific attributes, for example, what I used to do is whenever I used like Red Trust, I used to pick one faculty member. I would deep dive into his LinkedIn or on the Doximity profile, his research articles, search about those. And then in the letter of interest, I used to have like 3 to 4 lines and write that person's name that, okay, I was having, I was just reviewing one of your faculty members' profile. And I'm really impressed like how people are able to build their profile in your hospital, your residency program. And it's going to be the same for me that I will be building it's not just going to be a position for me, but it's going to be like a long-term vision for me where I will be building my profile like your faculty members. And sometimes I also used to deep dive if like I went through the research or this specific experience of this faculty member, and this was my specific question, I would be happy if he could give me more insight about it. And then later on, like, uh, once I think from one of the program coordinator, I received an email that, okay, she connected me with that specific faculty member, and then she CC'd that person, and then he was able to respond me. So sometimes, if you are writing the generic letter, then not gonna add any value. But if you shift your mindset from generic to specific, you are gonna see the whole world will change around you.
Mhm. Wow.
So that's the that's how you can write the letter of interest and the letter of intent. The intent
Mhm,
would be later on, and the interest would be right now, I think, because
mhm,
this is the season is almost started. It's
mhm,
almost June now, May 31, but you guys can start sending the letter. But I think sending the letter to at a mass level is not advisable. You can do that if you don't have time, but if you have time, you can write a specific letter that I would say.
mhm. And that was actually gonna be my follow-up question. I know the match cycle is about to begin. We are preparing for the new match cycle. When could it be the most ideal time so that you send your letter of interest without it being flooded by any other potential letters, but then you also don't want to send it too soon? Is there a specific timeline or a specific date in which you might find it ideal, or just, a certain time of the year that you might find it ideal to send a letter of intent? Do you recommend to send a both letter of intent and letter of interest? Just what would be the ideal etiquette in that regard, in your opinion?
The letter of interest you can send whenever you want, but I think if you are talking about the
Mm,
ideal time would be when the program coordinator's email is not filled with the with another like a thousand emails per day. For example, one of the program director he was saying that on average he used to get like around 500 emails per day when the residency match cycle starts. So in
wow.
order to see if he's getting 500 per day, then how can he reply? He cannot reply to all of the emails, right? So what you guys can do is, I think right now this is the season when the the directors and program coordinators emails would be a little bit empty, and they will be able to respond to you. And also, just don't randomly send the email. Try to schedule the email so they receive the email at their 8 or 9 a.m. because at that this is the time when they come to the office and they open their inbox and try to see what emails. If they see your email on the top, there is a high chance that they're going to reply you. And this is very helpful for this had used to be very helpful when I used to send emails. Like I used to schedule around 9 a.m. according to what like when they come in the office. So I used to get a reply from
Mhm.
there. And the second
Wow.
thing email
Mhm,
would be if you have the email domain from any if let's suppose you are in any university right now in and you have the domain or you have the email domain from that specific university, try to send the emails from that domain rather than just Gmail or Yahoo, because
mhm,
from the institution's email it's more likely that they're gonna reply you seeing that
mhm,
okay you are already in an well-established institution. So this
mhm,
is one of the
mhm,
advice I would give. And right now I think would be an ideal
mhm,
time to send the letter of interest. But the letter of intent would be later on in the month of January or February when you are done with the interviews and you just want to portray your interest to
mhm,
the programs.
mhm. Got it, got it. And when it comes to the letter of intent, the one we're talking about before the residency interviews and so forth, that would just be the letter, correct? You would not be sending your CV, you would not be sending any additional files, correct?
So with the letter of interest, I would recommend to attach a small, like a short form of your CV. That's a
Mhm,
better thing, just so they can see, quickly evaluate, okay, you have the lot of previous experiences. You can write a little bit more about your scores. If you don't want to mention score, that's fine, but you can mention about USMLEs or if you're done with step one, two, or what your plan is. So yeah, you can attach that.
okay, got it, got it. So
But it's
not the
not
full CV.
advisable.
Mhm,
Yeah, it's not advisable to attach the stuff with the letter of intent because they already have that, right?
mhm, mhm. So then it would just be redundant. Got it, got it. And what are other ways that you what are other ways, other strategies that people can take advantage when it comes to getting a program's attention? What are other avenues that one can take other than sending letters through email? Are there any meetings? Are there any events that they can attend? Again, what are some other alternatives that somebody could do in that regard?
I think what I have to say in this regard is this is one of the mistake I have made multiple times before I came to know the right strategy and before I was able to be on the right track. But I would say like I have made the small mistakes more than anybody in this room. So before coming to the right paths, the mistake which I did was the same thing which a lot of people do is mass emailing and asking for opportunities, just not knowing what I need from them, just like a copy paste email sending to 300 people or 300 hospitals. And then I do get a reply, I used to get a reply of like around 3 to 4 per 100 email, but I don't think so that's worth it. At the
Mhm.
end, we you have to use the backwards method. This is a new approach, or this is the approach which is beneficial for almost everybody. It's the same like how we build like any service or any product. We just don't build the service or a product or and try to impose on the people that okay, come buy our service or product. And we used to do this before when we launched our organization initially, but then later on we came to know this is not the right thing to do. So what we do is we come up with a research that what are the needs of the people, like how they need it and when they need it, and how we can be helpful in the most effective way to them. This is the right way to make any service product. And it's the same approach which I would recommend to every residency match applicant. Go backwards. Just don't shoot like 500 emails and wait for reply. Just do your research, open up like 100 to, sorry, just scrutinize 150 to 200 residency program, which you think would be a suitable fit for you. And then search each and every website, search their faculty members, and come up with your strengths as well, write your strengths, and do a competitive analysis. Like which are the programs where you will be the best fit for? Where will you go? And they will really appreciate your strengths. So, and then if you shoot an email with a specific attributes, you are gonna see the results. It's like a magic.
Wow.
So that's one of the best thing which I would recommend to
Mhm.
do in terms of networking.
Mhm.
And
And mhm.
yes, go ahead.
Yes, yes, and I know with, those specifics and being very mindful and again strategic when it comes to writing your letters. I do have a question here from Xenia, and firstly, she, thanks us for the useful information that we're currently providing, but with regards to writing the letter of intent, do you recommend or is it advisable to possibly include the name of an individual or an institution that you have a personal connection with? In other words, would name dropping help you? Might it hinder you? Is there any way to maybe strategically go about that in implementing it in your letters?
Okay, so Erica, so what I came to, so let me just try to understand the question. So she's saying that for if like have a question about the letter of intent. It is
Mhm.
advisable to mention or CC a faculty member in that institution that you have a personal connection with, or it is looked them up. No, I think it's very valuable. I would not CC that person, but I can write in one paragraph about that I was in touch with this faculty member, and this is how he helped me in this, and this is how I made myself better as compared to before. Just like a one small paragraph rather than CCing him. I wouldn't CC him, but I would just
Mhm.
write one paragraph about that person. And this is not a letter of intent, because the letter of intent try to not try to avoid doing that as well, because that we are talking about letter of interest, which is to show the interest to the residency program. The letter of intent is once you are done with the residency match process, you are done with the interview from that program, and if you are trying to email them by CCing a person you know that can be looked down upon. So for the letter of intent, I would not advise that, but for the letter of interest, you can just mention a brief paragraph that this is how it's helpful.
Got it, got it. Kind of emphasizing your connection and so forth. Okay, that definitely makes sense. And I do appreciate that you clarify that on that, Dr. Stain. And again, other avenues that students can take for networking, since you mentioned emails could be one of them. What's your perspective on, say, like virtual open houses, in-person open houses, conferences, and so forth? We can start with the virtual or in-person open houses.
I think one of the most important factor to get more number of interviews and make more connections is by virtual houses and the conferences. But you have to do the right approach. So what the virtual houses by mean is like every year from the month of July to September, a lot of residency program will do their virtual houses. But the virtual house is like just a virtual event. For example, like what we are doing right now, it's this kind of event. You sign up for that, and then there will be residency program director, coordinator, and other faculty member who will elaborate about their residency program. And then you have the chance to ask questions at that time. What I can share is my example. There was one hospital in Delaware. I sent an email that I need an observership or externship. They said we don't offer that to the IMGs, and but we are in the process of getting the accreditation from one of for our residency program. You're welcome to apply. I said, okay, please, if you guys can just remind me or help me or just send me an email or a reminder that you got your accreditation, I would be happy to apply. Then later on, they emailed me that our residency program is still in the process of getting accreditation, but we are doing the virtual house this season. If you are welcome to attend that. And then I attended their virtual house, and there were like around 150 to 200 people in the virtual house, like all of the residency match applicants. But we were able to make a connection from like by with all of the faculty members, program director, and then later on, I also emailed them just to thank of what they have arranged for us. In the month of November, when the season is almost over, for the interview season, by the season I mean is the interview season, they sent me an email that we got a accreditation and you're welcome to apply. And then I applied in the month of November, and they offered me the interview. So I did go for the interview with them as well. By telling you guys about this example, what my motive is to just reiterate that networking is the key to your success. Attend as many virtual houses as you can. And the second thing would be the in-person conferences. For example, I think Zainab, if you can list the upcoming conferences in the chat box so people can benefit from that, their dates, venue, and specialties. For example, on the top of my head, there are two very important conferences, upcoming conferences: AMA on June 6th in Chicago, and then AAFP and in July, by the end of the July 31 in Kansas. In Kansas, like what happens is that there are like more than 650 residency program who come to the conferences, and they have their own booths, and you guys are welcome to go there. You can scan their QR codes, and you will be able to in touch like once the the process you're done with and done networking with them, there's a high chance that they will review your application and they will send you the interview invite if possible. So this is how you can filter out. I know a lot of residency applicants are filtered out, but in order to bypass the filter, this is the right approach to build a network. And I
Wow.
have received so many interviews just because of the network. And this is the
Wow.
same, and that's the same thing which I would advise to everybody.
Wow, wow. And there's definitely a lot of, I'm seeing here in the chat that there are plenty of conferences, fairs, events just coming up, starting as soon as a few days, starting as soon as June, coming upwards to July, even August. There's definitely something happening in every month coming up. And I know that we'll continue updating individuals as we receive more either specialty specific or more either virtual or in-person networking events such as these. I think they're amazing opportunities, definitely something that students can both benefit from and should be taking advantage of. And I'm also seeing here once again, I know we are in the topic of conferences and virtual houses. I think just really kind of the biggest questions I had with regards to virtual houses was, was there a strategy that you had when it came to finding those virtual or in-person virtual houses? Was there a way that you came across them? Was it based on the schools that you contacted, similar to the accreditation? How was your strategy in finding the open houses, and how did you go about that?
So since I used to connect with a lot of residency program coordinators by making phone calls or shooting an emails, and a lot of people would reply me with their virtual houses. And yeah, and I used to send an email asking once I came to know that residency programs are arranging the virtual houses, I used to email a lot of programs to know if they are in the same process or not. And then I came to know a lot. What we can do for this season is like we will try to post a lot of virtual house information on our social media, so most of the people can benefit and they can sign up, they can attend the virtual houses, can benefit from that. So what I think is just shooting an email or having just ask, pick up the phone and ask.
Wow. So it was definitely a bit of a domino effect once you found out that one of them had a virtual house, and it's possible that others could also be in the preparation steps of their virtual house and then just kind of going about it that way. That's definitely not a bad idea. And so that definitely answers Shreya's information, Shreya's question that she asked regarding the virtual or in-person open house. I think that's definitely an excellent strategy. I'm getting here from Yorgos as well that you can also check social media sites, social media pages, because they may also, again, as you mentioned, if you see someone mentioning an open house, it is possible that others could be doing that as well. So I think that's definitely a good strategy. Again, regarding the open houses, also an excellent strategy regarding the conferences. Was it intimidating for you going into the virtual houses? Again, was there a strategy that you had in mind? Of course, we're not just going to attend the open house blindly or the conference blindly, but if you are attending these events with intention, and if you were starting over again, how would you go about, again, maybe the questions that you would be asking the programs or the questions that you would be presenting to the program coordinators? How would you be, again, approaching that strategy once you're in the open house, once you're in the conference?
So what I used to do is the same thing. Like before the open house, I used to search their website, and then I never asked any one-liner question. For example, I would never ask what are the strengths of your program or what is the lifestyle your or work-life balance you guys have. No, what I used to say is if let's suppose if I wanna have a specific I wanna have a question, I used to not ask generic questions. I used to rephrase the statement from their website. I would say, okay, I went through your website. I came to know that this is the right approach to do so. But my question is this. This is how they get an idea that this person is quite invested in our residency program. So this is how I used to get more number of interviews. So I think one-liner questions are not going to take you anywhere. Just ask specific questions. Might be even if you have to take like 20 seconds to ask the question, that's completely fine. But they will really appreciate if you are asking a specific question. So I think that's the right thing to do. So, but don't overwhelm the other people. For example, you should not be the only one asking all of the questions. There is a very thin line or thin boundary where you are showing your interest, but where you are crossing the line. So might be one or two question would be more than enough, and try to give opportunity to other people as well so they can ask questions. But I think your one if your question speaks volume, then one would be more than enough.
Mhm. Wow. And you mentioned that you've seen people get interview invites out of these virtual houses, correct?
A lot of people get invites because they attended the virtual houses, because
Ah,
they know that if let's suppose they're receiving 5,000 applications and there were only 150 who attended the virtual houses. So now
mhm,
they know that, okay, these 150, they are interested in our residency program.
mhm. And this,
So,
mhm.
yep. So they at least, even if you don't receive the interview, at least they will review your application.
Mhm. But nonetheless, you're still getting eyes on your application. You're still getting seen. And all of this out of, again, not only being strategic and finding the virtual houses, but also being very intentful when it comes to asking the questions. I think that's definitely a good strategy. And again, individuals once again are asking what the virtual houses are for, when they start. As mentioned, sometimes some programs may mention when their virtual houses will begin, some may not, but oftentimes they do start around the July-ish, anywhere from July to November season. They will just be published and coming up either on their websites, on social medias. And again, I think once again, just really being mindful with your questions is an excellent way to stand out. And other other questions that I have, again, in standing out, but this is more related to experience. I do have a question here from Xenia, and she's asking related to her clinical experience. If you were to have clinical experience in September, would that give you enough time to, again, use it in your advantage in the match cycle, as we mentioned, standing out? Would it be enough time to get a letter of recommendation in? Is it too soon? Would you have to wait for the next cycle? What do you think in that regard?
So the residency match seasons will be starting from June 4, and you will be able to submit the application by September 3, and
Mm,
program will start reviewing after September 25, I believe, for this season. So you have to complete each and everything before September 25. So if let's suppose you're scheduled to do any observership or externship in the month of September, I think what I would advise is, let's suppose if you start on September 1, communicate with your letter writer, say that in the month of September, it takes like around 7 to at least 10 days to release the letter of recommendation by the ERAS. So what you can do is request a letter from him by giving a deadline of like around 15 might be, or 13th of September 13th. If he or she upload by September 13th or 14th, there will be ample time that the letter will be processed and released, and then you can utilize that letter in the in your application. But let's suppose if there you if you are applying on September 24, but now the letter is not released yet, and you're not unable to assign. What I would do is apply with the three letters, and then once the letter is released, you can assign that later on. So this is also the opportunity that Ross gave you, that for the letter of there is a minimum number of requirement, well, two for every program, that you have to have two assigned, but two you can keep open if you want to. If the letter released later on, might be in the month of October, if you think that any letter that is will add more value, then you can just keep the space open and then assign the letter of recommendation to the program later on, might be in the month of October, but don't extend it too late, because you don't want your application to be just missed out. So I
mhm,
think I hope this answers the question.
mhm. No, that definitely seems to be a good strategy. And again, just to reiterate, as you mentioned, being very mindful of dates, regardless of whether you're starting in September, in June, even if it's close to the September 25th deadline, which is the one you've mentioned, as long as you ensure that the necessary documents are in by then. Otherwise, definitely notify your letter writer, about these dates, or find other possible alternatives. I think that's definitely a good strategy to have. And I am going through here. I am going through the chat and just really seeing what everybody is asking. I really do appreciate that this can be a very dynamic and collaborative webinar. Again, with regards to conferences that are going to be either in California or New York, again, if we receive any word of these, we will definitely be publishing them on our social media. We will definitely be sharing them with you guys just as we did these recent ones. Any resources to provide details about conference. Again, you can always check in with us. We'll be providing the information as we're receiving it, similar to this new ERAS update, all of the new ERAS information, all the new implementations as well. And again, as we mentioned earlier as well, standing out, when programs hold group interviews, definitely being mindful and intentful with the questions that you ask. Don't be asking one-liner questions. Try to kind of reiterate the question to the program's goals and just really being very mindful with the questions that you ask, not overwhelming individuals with questions and so forth. And I mean, just really with all of the changes that have been coming up with again eras and just really being prepared with virtual houses, all of this information that is being shared with us right now, is there any particular approach that you recommend for students, not just first time applying students, but perhaps those who might have been rejected? Is there a different strategy that you recommend they implement? Any resources, any services, again, just anything new that you would recommend for not just first time applicants, but second or even third time applicants?
Yeah, I think one of the like I know a lot of people ask about the resources which they should use to find the programs. I think a Residency Explorer and the FRIEDA, these are the two I think best options. Try to focus on each and every program you apply to. Just get a whole analysis, whole stuff because you don't want to waste your money for any specific program where you are not gonna receive any interview. So what I think this is one of the things which you guys can think about and make your Residency Explorer accounts and Frida account and start making your list as soon as possible and start preparing for the residency interview as soon as possible. I think a lot of people start the preparation when after the month of September, but I think the residency interview preparation starts from beginning. You're right now, you should be phrasing your answers, you should be coming up with your own specific answers and getting and it might be if you have to do mock interviews or might be you have to do something else. But I think start as soon as possible. And I know idea itself almost means nothing. It's the main thing is the execution, and whatever you execute will bring the results to your favor. For example, like in our organization for this season, like for this whole year, we used to organize like a couple of webinars and virtual events like in back in 2024, but we came up with a new standing policy that we have to organize one every week, and there can be no exception that we do have to. I think from the last 5 months, I think there was just one weekend in which we missed a webinar, and that was because we had our podcast scheduled on that weekend, and we were so much into the podcast that we didn't focus on arranging the virtual event. But our goal is to invite program directors, faculty members from not just the IM or FM, but from multiple other specialities for all of the specialties where people are looking for, but because if you are looking for to apply for derma, neurosurgery, orthopedics, competitive residency programs, I think we will be providing uh, you guys the resources, inviting people so you can network. I think that's the thing which we can do to help you guys, but and execution is very hard. I know how difficult it is to arrange one a webinar virtual event every week. It takes the effort of like around 5 to 6 people to arrange all of the stuff. So it's the same thing for B from your side. You have to come up with the execution plan. Like might be just don't overwhelm yourself, might be start focusing on 2 to 3 different residency programs every day by shooting an email, or might be researching which program you want to apply. Meanwhile, you will be preparing for USMLEs, taking your OET exams, might be doing rotations. You have to do multiple tasks together, but I think just don't overwhelm. The rewards are, I would say, are worth it. And a lot of people ask about if they are investing a lot of money in this journey. But I would say if my goal is to give you a broader perspective. For example, if I can compare the IMG with the AMG, on average, when the American medical graduate is done with their residency, on average, they have like 400,000 to $500,000 of loan, of the student loan. If I compare that person with an IMG who is, let's suppose, having a loan of like might be $15,000, and that's too much for for the person. And but that $15,000 they're investing in their future, because once you are done with your residency, the money is not gonna be even a problem for you. For example, if you are done with your IM residency and you just pick one shift, which is like a 12-hour shift in any hospital, a hospitalist shift. Most of the program, most of the hospitals pay for like around $1,500 to $2,000 for one shift, just for 12 hours. And if you're doing the locum, I have seen people paying like 2,500, thousand to $3,000 just for 12-hour shift, and the shift passes without any effort. So the money is not even gonna be a problem though. Let's suppose even if you have a loan of like around 15 to $20,000, or might be more than that, it's the same amount you will be able to earn like in less than a month or 15 days, or might if you are going for competitive fellowships, or competitive residency or fellowship where you're getting paid more. So might be this is just like your 1 day salary, or might be 1 day income, 2 day income. But I think money will never be a problem for you. So right now, you have to think that if I'm investing my money in appropriate stuff, might be rotations, might be research, might be anything, to become a person for whom the money will not even be a problem, right? That's how you change your like you change your like mindset. And I think this is the same kind of counseling which I received before. I was worried about how I'm gonna fund my journey, and remember, I think I have paid like around more than $4,000 for a single 4 week rotation. So, but I think at the end, it's worth it. You come up with new experiences, and you come up with the new with some value, which is beneficial in your life in the long run for your own future. So I would say the money
Mhm.
would not be even a problem for you guys, because you guys
Mhm.
are coming in the system which is the topmost system, rewards you the most. So just change your perspective.
Mhm. No, definitely. I think that's a really good way of looking at it because again, once you, as you mentioned, perhaps now, yeah, at the end of the day, you are your biggest investment. And if you are investing in yourself and you're investing in yourself strategically, having the right people in your corner, as you mentioned, similar to the way you create events and webinars, you want to ensure that you're investing in yourself. You want to ensure that you have the right people in your corner. Once you have that, and you're accepted as a resident, it's all going to essentially pay for itself, come back to you with that salary as well. So I think it's a really good way to look at it. And I did also post here the resources that you were mentioning to us, Dr. Zain, such as the Residency Explorer, FRIEDA. I did share these in the chat, and I'll share them once again in a minute as well. Again, in in the topic of having the right people in your corner, I did also share the information of us here at IMG Helping Hands, joining our WhatsApp group, joining, scheduling Calendlies, with and having your sessions with MDs. That way we can best assist you, just really supporting you throughout this journey as well. And then I do have just a final question once again, with regards to deadlines and dates, if you don't mind me touching up on that. And this is from our wonderful individual here, Sud. He did mention that he was trying to have his step two before September, but is there any deadlines or any recommended dates that you have? That way, an applicant could be certified, with ample time. Would it be in August? Would it be taking the exams again, perhaps in September itself? What do you think is the best approach in that regard?
So one of my friend who matched in surgery, he was doing rotations with me when I was doing my rotation in the month of November. So that person got his ECFMG certification in the month of February. So what this means is if he can, he was an IMG from India, and if he can match by getting certified in the month of February, just 1 month before the match announcement, then I think everybody can. But yes, there are some statistical uh, there's some statistical analysis which is your chance of getting match is less if you're not certified. Your chance of getting the number of interviews also less. But if let's suppose you have a valuable network and then you reach out to them, okay, even though I'm not certified, my plan is to get the certification by the end of November. So you would not even have a problem with my certification. I'm almost done with the process. So I will be certified before you rank me in the month of February. So you can convince programs, and I think a lot of people receive interviews when they're not even ECFMG certified. If you can apply, but let's suppose if you need 1 extra month for the ECFMG certification or 2 months might be, I would still ask you to apply for the same cycle because you can convince programs or you can shoot an email. If you have the network, you can even receive more interviews. And this is how I would approach the situation.
Got it, got it. No, I think that's really really good to keep in mind. And let me see, we do have a couple more questions. Are we still good in time to take a few more questions? I do have one here regarding the signaling process, which I think is good for those who are not familiar with that. What essentially is the signaling process? And again, how could somebody use that to their advantage?
So the signaling process is being very advanced now as compared to what it was in my season when I applied. We used to have only five. We were only have for one specialty for IM, just 5 signals, and that's it. But now I have seen like 22 different specialties and many gold signals and the silver, like the other signals, like different categories of the signals. But by the signal, what I mean is everybody know that you apply like 200 programs, but or 200 programs if you're an IMG. Now, if you're signaling, you have certain number of signals, like you have 10 signals. And if you're signaling any program, now the program will know that, okay, if this person is signaling me, this means I am one of his or her priority. So this is how they decide if the person is signaling. They say, okay, let's see if we can interview this person. So it increases the chance of receiving an interview from that specific course for program. But let's suppose if you have already a network in any program, if you already are in touch with who are reassuring that we will review your application, we will send you the interview. I wouldn't recommend signaling that program because you already have established a network and you already have portrayed their interest by going there, doing a rotation, or might be building a network over there. So you can utilize your signal to some other program. So signaling just like waving a flag towards the program that I'm interested in you.
Got it, got it.
And when you have certain
And
number and you have certain number of flags, you cannot wave all of the flags to all of the programs. Let's suppose I would simulate that you have 10 number of flags, and then you're waving to the 10 different programs, and then 10 different program will know that okay, you wave a flag towards them, but the rest of the program will not know that Like who you wave the flag towards, like which
Mhm.
residency program.
Got it, got it. Wow. No, so I think it's definitely good to keep that in mind as well. Again, when it comes to signaling, especially because you have limited signals, as you mentioned, you want to use them as strategically as possible. Again, I love finding just again the overall ideas and the overall key message of all the webinars that we do. And I think just here being strategic, doing, being strategic, having the right people in the corner, I think is really just the main idea and the main focus of today's webinar. And so I do appreciate once again all the invaluable information that you share with us today, Dr. Zain. I will be sharing once again the information that way individuals can stay connected with us, joining the WhatsApp group, scheduling consults throughout the Calendly, the Residency Explorer, the FRIEDA, because I'm sure there are definitely other questions that students have that we'd be more than happy to answer through our consults or even throughout the opportunities that we share that can definitely be a benefit to the individuals throughout this upcoming match and residency journey. And so again, I'm just very excited for this upcoming journey. I'm really happy with all this information that you've been sharing with us, Dr. Zain, which I do appreciate. Thank you so much once again for giving us this webinar and this information. And are there any last words that you'd like to share before we wrap up today's webinar?
Yes, well, very welcome. I think this webinar was very much you asked a lot of valuable questions which are valuable to the match applicants who are applying. I would just like to say that best of luck for everything. You definitely, if you, I haven't seen people who are struggling and who are making efforts going unmatched. Like might be you are unmatched in the first cycle, two cycles sometimes, but I think later on you get the reward. So just to reassure you that even if you have low scores, 220s, if you have failures, if you have no network, if you're just working hard, you're working smart, you will definitely overcome your red flags and you will bring, I would say you will definitely match. That's what I have to say at that point.
Mhm. No, definitely, definitely. And again, thank you so much once again for your final words, Dr. Zain. I will be concluding this webinar now. And once again, I do want to thank not just you for being in attendance here with us, but everybody else who was here in attendance in this webinar as well. Thank you to everybody who made this webinar, again, another dynamic one, full of questions. This is just an overall conversation that we're having, not just between Dr. Zain and I, but between all of us, because we are here to help each other out. As I mentioned, you do want to ensure that you have the right people in your corner. We're always here to help and support you. This is why we wanted to bring you the updates, the newest era's updates, as soon as we could. You're one of the first people to hear it, and we're always very eager to share this information and more with you. So with that in mind,